Good Monday morning. Well, we're about to embark on the final seal, the seventh seal, in Revelation chapter 8. And it begins this way with a very interesting and sobering word. It says, when the Lamb opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Now, can you imagine what would silence heaven for half an hour? You know what we just talked about last week, all of that praise and glory and honor that was going up before the throne of the Lord. And now everything is quiet. And it even tells us for how long. The seventh seal is the revelation that there is more judgment coming. So it's not an actual event, but it's the revelation that more of what's just happened is going to come. And when that happens, heaven has already experienced and seen what's transpired with the first seven seals. And there is a sobering hush that comes when it realizes there is yet more to come. Joseph A. Seiss writes this in his book. He says, a half hour is not long in itself, but time is longer or shorter according to what is transpiring or what the circumstances are. When we consider the circumstances of this case, the world in which this pause occurs, the sort of occupations which it interrupts, the kind and number of beings it affects, the nature of feelings, interest, and expectations which it holds in suspense, and the awfulness of the stillness itself, there is everything to make this half hour a thing so tremendous that we may be sure there never was the like before, and there never will be again. And what does it unveil? It unveils that there's now going to be 7 trumpet judgments. You know, trumpets have played a large role in Scripture, and they often come as a sound that precludes war. And then it says in verse 2, then I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. So there are 7 specific angels that have this task to blow these 7 trumpets. In the book of Enoch, which actually didn't make itself into the Bible, there's a passage that gives names to 7 specific angels that are actually listed, and they're called watch angels, and Gabriel and Michael are actually in those angels. And it gives us just another real picture of how angels play such a significant role in the works of God. And then it says, and then another angel came. Now, most theologians believe this is Christ himself that is being referred to here. And with what we are about to read, I believe the role Jesus has played up until this moment as our intercessor, that would be very appropriate. It said, and another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer, and he was given much incense to offer with the prayers of all the saints on the golden altar before the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints rose before God from the hand of the angel. He's holding it in his hand. And then the angel took the censer and filled it with fire from the altar and threw it on the earth, and there were peals of thunder and rumblings and flashings of lightning and an earthquake. Now, last week we talked about the prayers of those martyrs that said, Lord, how long will you tarry? And now we have this picture of all the prayers of all the saints that have risen before God, your prayers that you've prayed in your quiet place, in your broken place, in your desperate place, my prayers that I've prayed, many on the floor of my office here and some in the front seat of my car when I'm driving. The prayers that we have prayed, every single one of them have come up to the throne of God as an incense, as a fragrance to him. And Jesus now is taking all of those prayers for relief, for the wrongs to be made right. And he is now going to dispel those prayers as a firebomb, if you will, onto the earth. But it is a response to the prayers of his people. Those prayers of deliverance that have been prayed, this is a response to those prayers. Now the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to blow them. The first angel blew his trumpet, and there followed hail and fire mixed with blood. And these were thrown upon the earth. And a third of the earth was burned up, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. Do you know this is very similar to the 7th plague that hit Egypt? Very similar, but remember, where were the children of Israel? They were hidden from every single one of those plagues. Every single one of them. And so I think it helps us understand that these are literal judgments when we look back on what happened in Egypt and the judgments that came upon Egypt when they were holding God's children in captivity. It's also similar to what we read in the first 4 seal judgments, but now it's all rolled into one. It's like they're getting progressively more intense, just like labor pains before birth get more intense. And then it says the second angel blew his trumpet, and something like, meaning John didn't have another word other than what he was using, but it doesn't mean that's what it is. Like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. This is very similar to the first plague sent upon Egypt. And it could be a volcano, because it's like a great mountain burning with fire and it's thrown into the sea. So it could be like volcanic in nature. But Jeremiah 21:25 records this. He said, "Behold, I am against you, O destroying mountain, conqueror of nations, who destroys the whole earth, declares the Lord. I will stretch out my hand against you and roll you down from the rugged cliffs and will make you a burnt mountain." The Amplified says an extinct volcano. So it very well could be that. Verse 10, the third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many people died from the water because it made the water bitter. This is like the 9th plague on Egypt. Very probable that it could be a meteor that strikes the earth. But listen to these words, the prophet Amos. I'm telling you, scripture is a third prophecy, and much of what the prophets prophesied were even about these times and these end times. He said, "For those shall be consumed who turn justice into wormwood or bitterness and cast righteousness down to the earth." They will be consumed who turn justice into wormwood. Now, the fourth angel blew his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of their light might be darkened, and a third of the day might be kept from shining, and likewise a third of the night. Then I looked, and I heard an angel crying with a loud voice as it flew directly overhead. Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth at the blast of the other trumpets that the 3 angels are about to blow. So in this final one, when the fourth angel blows his trumpet, a third of the sun is struck, a third of the moon, a third of the stars, a third of the light. Can you imagine what will happen to life on earth when that happens? It'll be utter devastation, as if there wasn't enough devastation. And then an eagle flies out crying, "Woe, woe, woe." Why? Because he knows that 3 more trumpets are going to be blown. So there's such heartbreak in what is happening. But we have to remember that God is a God of judgment, ultimately a God of justice, and sin has to be judged. And what did he do? He has paused from the time of Jesus until now. He has paused his judgment. But friends, he will not pause his judgment forever. He's going to answer the cries of the martyrs. He's going to answer the cry of the prayer of his saints. And he is going to bring justice to all the wickedness that has come upon this earth. And yet, in the middle of all of this, at this moment in time, Jesus is still interceding for you and I. It won't be that way then. He'll still have his hands open. You can still come to mercy inside of him. But right now, today, on this day, on this first Monday in June, he is still at the right hand of God interceding for you and for me. Friends, we can make a choice today. In this season that is still saturated with the grace of God, we can make a choice to walk in relationship with him. He never intended judgment for us, his children. He intended salvation for all of us. But we get to choose. So I say to you today, choose this day whom you will serve. Because one day the intercessor will no longer be sitting, but he will be standing with all the prayers of the saints in his